Hi everyone. So in this particular video, we'll look at the different deployment services available to us in AWS. So if you look at the flowchart we are having, majorly you have the SAM serverless, which is a serverless wrapper on top of CloudFormation. CloudFormation is the template based deployment engine or provisioning engine which provisions your different AWS resources. Now we have been using Terraform in a lot of our videos which I have created on Agentic AI. So Terraform, CloudFormation, SAM are all competitors, you can say. So you can use any one of the three to provision your resources on AWS, that is to create different resources with the policies attached to them. Okay, so that is the idea. And then you have something like CodePipeline. This is part of the total deployment process. As the name suggests, it automates the deployment workflows, and it's a complementary service to your CloudFormation, SAM or TFE. So if you have to build, test and deploy and you have to automate this workflow, CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment, so you can go for CodePipeline. So CodePipeline you can use along with CloudFormation or SAM or TFE to automate the CI/CD, which generally in bigger companies you always want to have CI/CD automated. And then I also talk about Elastic Beanstalk in this video, which is, I wouldn't say it's a deployment service. It's more of a managed app platform. It provides you endpoints which you can hit to trigger your workflows or to check the health of your application and so on and so forth. So it's a managed application platform. Okay, and obviously the deployment of the code would happen on Lambda, EC2, even Elastic Beanstalk and so on and so forth. Okay, and in the last in the bottom part of bottom left of this diagram, you see something on app hosting, which is not actually related to any deployment. It's more of an example. So if there is a static site you want to host, you can push it in S3 and have a CloudFront for content delivery as a CDN service, which helps in providing low latency if your app is global. Okay, and there is one service known as Amplify, which is basically which helps you in hosting your applications. Okay, so majorly we will look at SAM and CloudFormation in this video, along with a bit on Elastic Beanstalk. So AWS CloudFormation, and just before we get started, we have a AWS and AI builders community. Please look at the description. You will have a link to register yourself. Go ahead and register and be a part of our network, where we try to align like-minded people in the industry who want to learn together, who want to work together. You frequently get updates. You have free sessions happening, free Q&A, a lot of resources being shared. You can share resources to help each other, and so on and so forth. And by the way, this particular playlist, learning AWS concepts in 10 days, is more about the theory. If you want to have a look at how we do this practically, I have other playlists where I teach provisioning resources like S3, Lambda, creating agents with step functions as orchestrator, and utilizing various other services as part of that workflow. So have a look at the other playlists uh, I have published on Agent AI on AWS. So you create agents, you use Bedrock practically in as part of the agent tasks, and so on and so forth. So in that way you also get to know how to use Lambda while creating the agents, how to use step functions for orchestrating the entire workflow, how to have S3 event triggering the Lambda, which then in turn triggers your step functions workflow, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we have all of that in another playlist, which more is hands-on tutorial. I would say this is more of concepts tutorial, so you will see less of hands-on, but I will still try to show some part of code snippet as and when necessary, and I'll decide if I need to create more hands-on tutorials in the future. So right now focus for this playlist is more to do with concepts and theory, because you also need to know the theory and concepts before you start doing or being hands-on. Okay, so moving back to the video. So AWS CloudFormation is like infrastructure as a code. Think of it as IAC using YAML or JSON templates. It creates and manages AWS resources. Okay, so it helps you provision AWS resources. There is you can provide that in the YAML file. What kind of resources you want along with the policies. It's a stack based deployment and rollback. It supports dependencies between resources, and it is best for reproducible infrastructure deployments. Okay, you can have dev, QA, production setups, and if you are looking for enterprise scale AWS provisioning, go for CloudFormation. It is not ideal for quick manual experimentation, complex application deployment logic. Okay, so if it's very complex application deployment logic, don't go for CF. And if you're looking for multi-cloud infrastructure management, then also I wouldn't recommend CloudFormation. Now AWS SAM, it is a wrapper on top of CloudFormation, so it is built on CloudFormation only. It is just that it helps you in basically the syntax which you want to write for you to provision the resources is a lot easier, so you don't have to it reduces the redundancy with respect to provisioning the resources and writing those syntax, and it is more for serverless stack. As is mentioned, it's a simplified framework built on CloudFormation, so it simplifies the framework, it simplifies the syntax, and under the hood it is CloudFormation only. Short syntaxes you will have for Lambda, API Gateway, DynamoDB, etc. Whatever serverless applications you are having, it is for that. Easy packaging and deployment, so it also helps you with the deployment. It is best for Lambda based applications, API driven serverless solutions, event driven architectures. If you want to quickly do serverless development, then go for SAM. Okay, and it is not ideal for non serverless workloads like EC2 and all, and large infrastructure deployments which are beyond serverless components. Container heavy architectures also, it is not that much recommended. Quickly looking at the CloudFormation versus SAM comparison, I think more or less I covered. CF is infrastructure as a code, repeatable infrastructure deployment, YAML, JSON templates, any AWS infrastructure with or without serverless. SAM is more for serverless architecture, simplified templates. Lambda plus API gateway is the most common, faster deployment, faster development and deployment, and it is anyway built on top of CF only. If you need serverless REST APIs to be deployed quickly, instead of CF, go for SAM. It would be quicker and easier to manage. Okay, quickly let's little bit talk about Elastic Beanstalk. It's a platform as a service. CF was infrastructure as a code. Okay, provisioning, it is for provisioning the infrastructure. It is like a platform as a service, automatically provisions EC2 load balancers, auto scaling, supports Java, Node.js, Dockers, etc. It's a simplified application deployment, simplifies the application deployment. It is best for traditional web applications, teams that want to avoid infrastructure management, lift and shift application deployments, rapid deployment of monolithic apps. Okay, it is not ideal for fine-grained infrastructure control. So Elastic Beanstalk is a managed application deployment service. Okay, so if you want fine-grained infrastructure control, then don't go for Elastic Beanstalks, because the flexibility will be lesser. Okay, and obviously not ideal for complex microservice ecosystems, because again, if majority of the things is controlled by AWS, it will be more for simplified scenarios, right? Because then a lot of configurations would be required, and again, not ideal for highly customized AWS architectures. Okay, yes, quickly also little bit talking about the CodePipeline. It is a fully managed CI/CD orchestration framework. Integrates with GitHub, Code Commit, Jenkins, etc. It automates the build, test, deployment workflows. So it is used as a complementary service to SAM CF, and it basically helps you provision Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, so it supports various approval stages like dev, test stage, etc. And as an example, GitHub to code, let's say you have CodePipeline, so you have CloudFormation or SAM templates which are provisioning the infrastructure, and you want to basically have a automated CI/CD for that provisioning. So you can have CodePipeline running on top of those templates to create and update the infrastructure. Okay, second one also talks about the same. If you want to build, test, deploy automatically as a script, you go for CodePipeline. It is best for continuous CI/CD, automated software release pipelines, multi-stage deployment workflows. Okay, infrastructure deployment automation. Okay, it is not ideal for workflow orchestration of business processes. Okay, so it's not a workflow orchestration service. It's a deployment orchestration service, you can say. Complex application logic execution, obviously not. It is obviously not used for that. Real-time event processing and all obviously doesn't go with AWS CodePipeline. And I think we already talked about how they differ from each other. CloudFormation defines and provisions your AWS infrastructure. SAM simplifies the development or provision and deployment of serverless applications. Elastic Beanstalk deploys applications without managing underlying infrastructure. Okay, and CodePipeline, it automates software build, test, and deployment workflows. Okay, so CloudFormation provisions infrastructure, SAM simplifies that infrastructure, CodePipeline deploys the code, Elastic Beanstalk runs applications. Okay, let's quickly look at how CloudFormation, and as I mentioned, I'll try to give you a glimpse of code snippets from time to time. So this is one case where we try to do that. So as you can see, we have this workflow where we are trying to create agents with the help of step functions orchestration, and the step functions orchestrator is triggered by a lambda, which in turn is triggered on an S3 event. That is when a file is pushed into S3, in a lambda is invoked, which in turn invokes the step functions, and that step functions that then invokes the ingestion agent. After the ingestion agent, you have the risk analysis agent, the compliance agent, and the decision agent. Okay, so this entire agentic workflow we are trying to build. So this I have talked about in another tutorial playlist. and that time the provisioning we did was with TFE. Here I'm trying to do the provisioning with SAM and CloudFormation. Okay, so with CloudFormation it will look like this. So you will have the YML file or JSON file. Here we are taking YML file, so you can put the project name, the stage, the zip files, etc. And then like this you will have the resources being configured. So it has its own syntax which needs to be followed, and mostly you don't have to by heart any of this. Copilot will help you create all this, but you should know that it's basically an alternate to TFE, Terraform. Okay, it works like this. Okay, and then you have similarly SAM. SAM is more a simplistic template. Okay, so if you see like this type IAM role, you will not see it like this. It will be inbuilt in SAM. Okay, so you don't see that being so like that. There are various examples where the syntax is becoming simpler. Okay, and ultimately it is running on CF only. Okay, and then we have little bit on application Beanstalk as well. So application Beanstalk, it helps you create the APIs. Let's say if you have to create an API to trigger the workflow, you can do that. Or if you have to get the health status of the application, you can do that. I also created a video where we are trying to compare the three. Okay, so like this. Okay, so both CF and SAM have template.yml. So there are 5 AWS serverless function resources, 1 per agent. Okay, so IAM permissions expressed as SAM policy templates like S3 read policy, Lambda invoke policy, or step function execution policy instead of handwritten AWS IAM role, which I was talking about. So you are not being redundant and putting unnecessary syntax there. Okay, this is more of expressed as SAM policy templates internally. So you will have step functions only defined there inside that policy. Okay, so you don't have to keep on putting AWS IAM role. So basically CF is more generic. You have more control over CF. SAM is more for serverless architecture, but you have lesser control. It already has policy templates available which you are trying to reuse internally there. Okay, so see, you have these APIs available or created. You can create those in Beanstalk, where it starts the step function execution against the same state machine which is actually deployed by SAM, CF, or your TFE. Okay, so more or less that's how they differ. This is how you deploy CF. Okay, AWS CloudFormation deploy, and then let's also quickly look at the syntax to deploy SAM. Okay, so you deploy it like this. Okay, I would say that's all for this video. Hope this was informative, it was simple to understand, and please look at my other series where I am creating an agentic AI system from scratch, for document reviews, and I have other playlists as well. If you want to look into more hands-on approach, how we provision resources and so on and so forth. This is it from this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.